My name is Janet, and I am about to tell you the most painful yet satisfying story of betrayal and revenge I have ever experienced. This is about how my own sister stabbed me in the back during the most vulnerable time of my life, and how I made sure she paid the ultimate price for her treachery. I was 26 when I got pregnant with my first child. My husband David and I had been married for 3 years, and we were over the moon about starting our family. David was working long hours at his accounting firm to save money for the baby, and I was dealing with severe morning sickness that left me bedridden most days. That is when my sister Claire offered to help. Claire was 2 years younger than me, single, and working as a freelance graphic designer. She had always been the prettier one, the more outgoing one, the one who effortlessly attracted attention wherever she went. Growing up, I had learned to accept living in her shadow, but I thought as adults we had moved past that sibling rivalry. When Claire volunteered to come stay with us during my difficult pregnancy, I was genuinely grateful. She said she could work from anywhere and wanted to help take care of me and manage the household while David was working so much. I thought it was incredibly sweet of her, and David was relieved to have someone he trusted looking after me. Claire moved into our guest room and immediately made herself indispensable. She cooked meals, cleaned the house, ran errands, and kept me company during the long days when I was too sick to do anything but lie in bed. She would bring me tea and crackers, rub my feet when they were swollen, and listen to me complain about pregnancy symptoms without judgment. David was working 12-hour days trying to secure a promotion before the baby arrived, so he was rarely home except to sleep. When he was around, Claire was always there too, chatting with him about his day, making him laugh, and generally being the perfect helpful sister-in-law. I should have seen the warning signs, but I was too sick and exhausted to notice what was happening right under my nose. The first sign something was wrong came when I was about 6 months pregnant. I had been feeling better, and decided to surprise David by cooking his favorite dinner. When I went to the kitchen, I found Claire and David standing very close together by the counter, and they jumped apart when they saw me. Claire laughed it off, saying she had been showing David something funny on her phone. David gave me a quick kiss, and said he was going to shower before dinner. But something felt off about the interaction, and I could not shake the uncomfortable feeling in my stomach. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing other things. Claire would always find excuses to be around when David got home from work. She would wear increasingly revealing clothes around the house, claiming she was more comfortable that way. She started working out in our living room while David was home, doing yoga poses and stretches that seemed designed to show off her body. David began staying up later after I went to bed, saying he needed to unwind from work. I would hear him and Claire talking and laughing downstairs, sometimes until well past midnight. When I asked about it, they both said they were just watching movies, or that Claire was helping him with some computer problems. I tried to convince myself that I was being paranoid, that pregnancy hormones were making me suspicious of innocent interactions. Claire was my sister, and David was my husband. Surely they would never betray me, especially not while I was carrying David's child. But the signs kept getting stronger. I started finding Claire's hair ties and jewelry in strange places around the house, the living room couch, David's car, even in our bedroom. When I mentioned it to Claire, she would casually say she must have dropped them while cleaning or helping with laundry. David became less affectionate with me, claiming he was worried about hurting the baby. He stopped initiating intimacy completely, and when I tried to initiate it myself, he would make excuses about being tired or stressed about work. Meanwhile, Claire seemed to glow with happiness. She was more energetic, more flirtatious, and constantly making comments about how she could not wait to find the right man to settle down with. She would say things like how lucky I was to have David, but in a way that felt like she was testing the waters to see how I would react. The breaking point came when I was 7 months pregnant and had a doctor's appointment that David was supposed to attend with me. At the last minute, he called to say he had an important client meeting and could not make it. I was disappointed but understood that work was stressful for him. Claire offered to drive me to the appointment instead. We were in the car when her phone buzzed with a text message. She quickly grabbed it and put it face down, but not before I saw David's name on the screen. I asked her why David was texting her when he was supposed to be in a meeting. Claire got flustered and said it was probably just about groceries or household stuff. But her reaction told me everything I needed to know. That night, after David came home and went to bed, I pretended to be asleep and waited. Sure enough, I heard him get up and go downstairs around midnight. I quietly followed and positioned myself where I could see into the living room without being spotted. What I saw made me feel like my heart was being ripped out of my chest. David and Claire were on the couch together, kissing passionately. Claire was wearing one of my silk nightgowns, one that no longer fit me because of my pregnancy. David's hands were all over her body, and she was responding eagerly to his touch. I watched in horror as my husband and my sister betrayed me in the most intimate way possible. They were whispering to each other between kisses, laughing softly, completely lost in their own little world while I stood there pregnant with David's child. I managed to sneak back upstairs without being caught, but I spent the rest of the night crying silently into my pillow. The two people I trusted most in the world had been lying to me for months, carrying on an affair right under my nose while I was vulnerable and dependent on their help. Part of me wanted to confront them immediately, to scream and throw them both out of my house. But a bigger part of me knew that I needed to be smart about this. I was 7 months pregnant, financially dependent on David, and emotionally devastated. If I was going to survive this betrayal, I needed to plan my revenge carefully. The next morning, I acted like nothing had happened. I smiled at Claire when she brought me breakfast in bed. I kissed David goodbye when he left for work. I played the role of the oblivious pregnant wife while secretly planning their destruction. First, I needed evidence. I went to an electronics store and bought a small recording device and a hidden camera. I set up the camera in the living room, positioned to capture the couch where I had seen them together. I put the recording device in a decorative bowl on the coffee table, hidden among some fake flowers. I also started paying closer attention to their behavior and documenting everything. I took photos of Claire's belongings in inappropriate places. I screenshot David's phone when he left it unattended and saw romantic text messages between him and Claire. I saved voicemails where David lied about his whereabouts when he was actually with Claire. The evidence I collected over the next 2 weeks was devastating. The hidden camera captured multiple instances of David and Claire having sex on our couch, in our kitchen, and even in the guest room where Claire was supposed to be sleeping alone. The recording device picked up conversations where they talked about their feelings for each other and made plans for their future together. In one particularly cruel conversation, I heard Claire tell David that she had always been attracted to him and had volunteered to help during my pregnancy specifically to get closer to him. She said she knew he was unhappy in our marriage and that she could make him happier than I ever could. David's response was even worse. He told Claire that he had fallen out of love with me during the pregnancy, that I had become unattractive and needy, and that being with her reminded him of what passion felt like. He said he was only staying with me until after the baby was born, and then he planned to ask for a divorce. They were planning to continue their affair even after I gave birth, with Claire eventually moving out but staying close so they could be together while David played the devoted father and husband in public. Hearing them talk about me like I was just an obstacle to their happiness was more painful than witnessing their physical betrayal. These were not people who had made a mistake or gotten caught up in a moment of weakness. They were calculating and cruel, planning to destroy my life while pretending to care about my well-being. But their cruelty would become the foundation of their downfall. I spent weeks planning the perfect revenge. I wanted it to be public, humiliating, and permanent. I wanted everyone who knew them to see exactly what kind of people they really were. The opportunity came when Claire suggested throwing me a baby shower. She said she wanted to celebrate my pregnancy and help me prepare for motherhood. She offered to plan the entire thing, invite all our friends and family, and host it at our house. I agreed enthusiastically, telling her how touched I was by her thoughtfulness. What Claire did not know was that she was actually planning the venue for her own public humiliation. Claire went all out with the baby shower planning. She invited everyone we knew, our parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends from work, neighbors, college roommates. She decorated the house beautifully, ordered catering, and even hired a photographer to capture the special moments. The day of the shower, our house was packed with about 50 people who had come to celebrate my pregnancy and upcoming motherhood. Claire was playing the perfect hostess, making sure everyone had food and drinks, taking photos, and basking in the compliments about what a wonderful sister she was for organizing everything. David was there too, playing the devoted husband and excited father-to-be. He was charming everyone with stories about preparing for fatherhood, and how grateful he was to have such supportive family members helping us through this special time. After everyone had eaten, and we had played some traditional baby shower games, Claire announced that she had prepared a special slideshow presentation about my journey to motherhood. She said she had been collecting photos and memories throughout my pregnancy to create a beautiful keepsake for me and the baby. Everyone gathered in the living room while Claire set up her laptop and projector. She dimmed the lights and started her presentation with sweet photos of David and me when we first found out I was pregnant, pictures of my growing belly, and images of the nursery we had prepared. The audience was cooing and awing at the touching images, and Claire was beaming with pride at the positive reaction to her thoughtful gift. Then I stood up and asked if I could add something to the presentation. I told everyone that I had also been documenting my pregnancy journey, and had some additional photos and videos that I thought would be meaningful to share. Claire looked a little confused, but agreed to let me take over the presentation. I connected my own laptop to the projector, and started with a few normal photos that matched the tone of Claire's presentation. Then I began to shift the content. I showed photos of Claire's personal belongings in inappropriate places around the house, her earrings on David's nightstand, her bra in the laundry basket mixed with David's clothes, her coffee cup on the couch where she clearly had been spending time when I was not around. The audience was starting to look confused, wondering why these mundane photos were part of a baby shower presentation. Claire was looking increasingly uncomfortable, and David had gone pale. Then I displayed screenshots of the text messages between David and Claire. The messages were romantic, sexual, and made it very clear that they were having an affair. The room went completely silent as people read the explicit messages and realized what they were seeing. I heard gasps and murmurs as our friends and family members processed what was happening. Someone whispered, "Oh my God," and another person said, "This cannot be real." But I was not finished. I played the audio recordings of David and Claire's conversations about their affair, their plans for the future, and their cruel comments about me. The room was dead silent except for the sound of my husband and sister's voices discussing their betrayal in intimate detail. When the recording of Claire saying she had volunteered to help during my pregnancy specifically to seduce David played through the speakers, I heard someone gasp, "That is sick," and saw several people looking at Claire with disgust. Then I played the recording of David saying he had fallen out of love with me, and calling me unattractive and needy. The silence in the room was deafening, broken only by the sound of our mother starting to cry. Finally, I showed the video footage from the hidden camera. I had edited it to show just enough to make their affair undeniable without being completely explicit, since there were family members in the audience. But it was clear what was happening in the videos, and there was no way for David or Claire to deny what everyone was seeing. The room erupted in chaos. Our mother was crying and yelling at Claire, asking how she could do this to her pregnant sister. David's parents were staring at him in shock and disappointment. Friends were getting up to leave, looking disgusted and uncomfortable. Claire tried to run out of the room, but our father blocked her path and demanded an explanation. She broke down crying and tried to claim that she was in love with David and could not help herself, that it just happened naturally. David was trying to damage control, saying that he could explain everything, and that it was not what it looked like. But with the evidence I had presented, there was no way to spin their affair as anything other than a calculated betrayal. I stood in front of the room, 8 months pregnant, and surrounded by the chaos of my destroyed marriage and family relationships, and felt a sense of satisfaction that I had not expected. Everyone who mattered to David and Claire now knew exactly who they really were. There would be no hiding, no lying, no pretending that they were good people who had made a mistake. Their reputations were destroyed permanently and publicly. The aftermath was swift and brutal for both of them. Our parents disowned Claire immediately. They told her she was no longer welcome in their home, and that they would not speak to her until she got serious help for her behavior. Our other siblings rallied around me and cut Claire out of their lives completely. David's parents were equally disgusted with him. His mother told him that she was ashamed to call him her son, and his father said that David had destroyed any respect he had ever had for him. Within days, Word of what had happened at the baby shower had spread throughout our social circle, David's workplace, and our neighborhood. David was humiliated at work and eventually had to find a new job because the scandal had damaged his professional reputation. Claire lost several major clients when word of her behavior spread through her professional network. People did not want to work with someone who would seduce her pregnant sister's husband while pretending to be helpful and supportive. I filed for divorce immediately and, with the evidence I had collected, was able to get a very favorable settlement. David had to pay substantial alimony and child support, and I got to keep the house and most of our assets. The best part of my revenge was not the financial settlement, or even the public humiliation. The best part was that David and Claire's relationship did not survive the exposure of their affair. Once their betrayal was public, and they were both dealing with the consequences, the excitement and forbidden nature of their relationship disappeared. They had been attracted to the secrecy and the thrill of sneaking around, but when they were free to be together openly, they realized they did not actually have much in common. David had expected Claire to be a supportive partner who would help him rebuild his life after the divorce. Instead, Claire was dealing with her own professional and family problems and needed support herself. They started fighting about money, blame, and whose fault it was that their lives had been destroyed. Within 6 months of my baby shower revelation, David and Claire had broken up bitterly. They were both alone, both professionally damaged, both estranged from their families, and both dealing with the long-term consequences of their selfish choices. Meanwhile, I was thriving as a single mother. My daughter was born healthy and beautiful, and I was surrounded by friends and family members who supported me completely. The people who truly mattered had rallied around me and helped me build a new life that was better than what I had before. I also met someone new, a wonderful man who was impressed by my strength in handling such a difficult situation, and who loves both me and my daughter unconditionally. We have been together for 2 years now, and he has shown me what a real partnership looks like. Claire eventually tried to reconcile with our family, sending letters of apology and asking for forgiveness. But her apologies rang hollow because she focused more on how sorry she was that she got caught than on the actual harm she had caused. She tried to claim that she had been manipulated by David, that she was young and naive, and that she deserved a second chance. But everyone remembered the recordings where she clearly stated that seducing David had been her plan from the beginning. David also tried to rebuild his relationship with me, claiming that he wanted to co-parent effectively, and that we should put the past behind us for our daughter's sake. But I made it clear that our only relationship would be the legal minimum required for him to have access to his child. The most satisfying part of this whole experience was watching both David and Claire realize that their affair had cost them everything and gained them nothing. They had destroyed their reputations, their family relationships, and their professional lives for a relationship that lasted less than a year. They had thought they were so clever, carrying on their secret affair while I was vulnerable and dependent on them. They had underestimated me completely, and had no idea that I was capable of the level of strategic thinking required to destroy them both so completely. Some people have asked me if I feel bad about exposing their affair so publicly, especially at what was supposed to be a celebration of my pregnancy. My answer is always the same. They chose to betray me in my own home while I was carrying David's child. They chose to mock me and plan my destruction while pretending to care about my well-being. I simply made sure that their betrayal was exposed in the same public way they had been conducting their affair. If they had not wanted public humiliation, they should not have publicly humiliated me by flaunting their relationship in front of our friends and family. The baby shower had been Claire's idea, her way of showing everyone what a wonderful sister she was while secretly sleeping with my husband. It was poetic justice that her own event became the venue for her downfall. Looking back now, I realized that discovering their affair was actually a blessing in disguise. I learned that David was not the man I thought he was, and I was able to get out of a marriage with someone who was capable of such cruelty and deception. I also learned that I was stronger than I had ever imagined. When faced with the worst betrayal possible, I did not fall apart or let myself be destroyed. Instead, I fought back strategically and effectively, and I won. My daughter will grow up knowing that her mother is someone who does not accept being treated badly, who fights for what is right, and who will always protect her family. That is a legacy I am proud to leave her. The final irony is that Claire's plan to steal my husband actually gave me exactly what I needed to build a better life. Her betrayal freed me from a bad marriage, showed me who my real friends and family were, and proved that I was capable of handling anything life threw at me. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened. David and Claire thought they were destroying me, but they actually set me free. And that is the sweetest revenge of all. If this story of sisterly betrayal and ultimate justice gave you chills, make sure to subscribe to Revenge Janet for more incredible tales where cheaters get exactly what they deserve. Hit that notification bell, so you never miss a story where the truth comes out and karma strikes back. Share this with anyone who believes that family betrayal deserves the harshest consequences. Remember, at Revenge Janet, we know that blood may be thicker than water, but loyalty is thicker than blood. Subscribe now and join our community where betrayers get their comeuppance and justice always wins.